I know this can be challenging, but I'm here to support you every step of the way. You are not alone.
I'm Sarah, 32. I live in a quiet, upscale neighborhood in the suburbs of Chicago, where I've spent the last 7 years building a successful freelance graphic design business from the home office of the house I shared with my husband. For a long time, I thought I was living the dream: a beautiful home, a thriving career, and a marriage to a man I believed was my soulmate. But I soon learned that the person I shared my bed with was a stranger, and the life we built was nothing more than a carefully constructed facade. Before this story unfolds, I'd love to connect with you. Please let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world. It's amazing to see how far these stories can travel. The picture-perfect marriage. James and I met in our early 20s. He was charming, ambitious, and had a way of making me feel like the center of his universe. When he started his career as a real estate agent, I was his biggest cheerleader. I designed his logos, his business cards, and his listing presentations. As his success grew, so did our lifestyle. We bought the big house, took the European vacations, and were often cited by our friends as the couple to beat. James was the king of the local real estate market, known for his winning smile and his family man image. I worked behind the scenes, managing the household and my own clients, happy to let him take the spotlight. We had a routine that felt unbreakable: morning coffee together, checking in throughout the day, and late dinners where he'd tell me about his big closings. Everything felt solid. Everything felt safe. But looking back, the signs were there. The late-night showings became more frequent. The phone started being placed face down on the nightstand. He began obsessing over his appearance, hitting the gym for 2 hours a day and buying expensive cologne I hadn't picked out. I told myself I was being paranoid, that his success required this level of dedication. I didn't realize I was actually subsidizing my own replacement. An unexpected scent on a suit jacket. The first crack in the glass happened on a Tuesday. James came home late, claiming a closing had run long and the clients had insisted on a celebratory drink. He seemed agitated, rushing straight to the shower. As he discarded his blazer on the bed, I picked it up to hang it in the closet. That's when I smelled it. It wasn't my perfume. It was something floral, cheap, and overwhelming, the kind of scent a much younger woman would wear. When I mentioned it the next morning, James laughed it off, saying the client's daughter had given him a hug. His eyes didn't meet mine. A few days later, while doing the laundry, I found a receipt in his pocket for a jewelry store I didn't recognize. The purchase? A delicate gold bracelet. My birthday was months away, and our anniversary had just passed. I waited for him to surprise me with it, hoping there was a logical explanation. The surprise never came. Instead, I saw a photo on his agency's social media page. In the background of a team lunch, the new receptionist, Jessica, was wearing that exact bracelet. She was 24, bubbly, and looked at James like he had hung the moon, the secret phone in the gym bag. The doubt turned into a physical weight in my chest. One evening, while James was in the shower after the gym, his bag was left open on the floor. I wasn't the type of woman to snoop, but my gut was screaming. I reached into the side pocket, expecting to find a protein bar. Instead, my fingers brushed against a small, secondary smartphone. It wasn't locked. The messages were a nightmare. Hundreds of texts between James and Jessica, dating back 6 months. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning a life. He told her he was trapped in a loveless marriage with a woman who didn't understand his ambitions. He promised her he was handling the finances so they could be together without him losing a dime. The most heart-wrenching part? He was using the money from our joint savings, money I had earned from my design contracts, to pay for her apartment deposit and her car lease. I felt like I was suffocating. I didn't confront him right then. I realized that if I acted on emotion, I'd lose everything. I needed a plan, the investigation, uncovering the financial deception. I called my cousin, Michael. He's a tech consultant and a genius with digital forensics. I told him everything. "Don't let him know you know," Michael warned. "If he suspects a divorce is coming, he'll hide the rest of the money." While James thought I was busy with my design work, Michael and I were digging. We found that James had been funneling commissions into a side LLC he'd set up in a different state. He was lowballing his own earnings on our tax returns while living a double life. I also reached out to my best friend Emma, a paralegal. She helped me understand the legal landscape. "In this state," she said, "dissipation of marital assets is a big deal. If he's using your shared money to fund his mistress's life, he has to pay that back." We started documenting every dinner, every hotel stay, and every gift he bought Jessica. It turned out James wasn't just a cheater, he was a thief. He had drained nearly $80,000 of our shared wealth over the last year, setting the stage for his downfall. I played the role of the doting wife for 3 more weeks. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I smiled at dinner while knowing he'd just come from her bed. I kissed him goodbye while knowing he was headed to a showing that didn't exist. My plan revolved around James's biggest event of the year, the luxury open house for a $3 million estate he was listing. All the top players in the city would be there, including the owner of his agency. I worked with Emma to finalize the divorce papers and a formal demand for accounting regarding the missing funds. I also gathered all the evidence Michael had found, the photos, the receipts, and the logs from the secret phone. I didn't just want a divorce, I wanted the world to see the family man for who he truly was. I made sure Jessica was invited to the event, knowing James had promised her they could publicly celebrate the sale once the papers were signed. The confrontation. The open house revelation. The night of the open house was glittering. James was in his element, wearing an expensive suit, paid for by me, and holding a glass of champagne. Jessica was there, dressed far too formally for a receptionist, hovering near him. I waited until the owner of the agency was standing with a group of potential high-net-worth investors. I walked up, looking radiant in a dress James had never seen. "James, honey," I said, my voice clear and steady. "I have a gift for you to celebrate such a big night." I handed him a thick, professional-looking folder. He smiled, thinking it was a marketing proposal or a surprise gift. He opened it. The first page was the divorce filing. The second was a spreadsheet detailing every cent he had stolen from our marriage to spend on Jessica. The third was a printout of his secret LLC. The room went silent as he turned the pages, his face draining of all color. Jessica tried to peek at the papers, but I turned to her with a cold smile. "You can have him, Jessica. But you should know, the car and the apartment? They were paid for with stolen money. And I'm taking them back." The agency owner's expression turned from confusion to disgust. In the real estate world, reputation is everything. A man who steals from his wife is a man who steals from his clients. The aftermath, finding peace in the wreckage. The fallout was swift. James was fired from the agency within 48 hours. Without his steady income and the family man brand, his career crumbled. The divorce was brutal, but because of the evidence Michael and Emma helped me gather, I was awarded the house, my full savings, and a significant portion of his future earnings to compensate for the dissipated assets. Jessica didn't stay long once the money ran out. She moved on to the next successful man she could find, leaving James alone in a small, one-bedroom rental. I stayed in our home for a few months, redesigning every room to erase his presence. Then, I sold it for a massive profit and moved into a beautiful loft downtown. My business is more successful than ever, and for the first time in a decade, I'm not living for someone else's ambition. I learned that you can't build a real life on a foundation of lies. James tried to sell everyone a dream, but in the end, he was the only one who ended up with nothing.